So we knew going into this offseason that San Francisco had some questions around that roster. So far in NFL free agency, they've been able to address that in this first week of the official marking of the offseason. And on today's show, just a refresher and some thoughts on some of their acquisitions so far as we take a gander at the Niners free agency tracker. So with that, let's start to take a look at some of the players who are now coming into the Niners and some of the players who San Francisco has retained. Sam Darnold, going to be some backup quarterback competition to Trey Lance in training camp. I imagine with Brock Purdy out because of that elbow surgery on his UCL, it's going to be Sam Darnold and Trey Lance getting many of the reps all throughout this offseason. And Sam Darnold probably looks at this as a golden opportunity to really revive his career. If he plays well, maybe, and I'd say the chances are very slim, he could unseat Lance as the week one starter. I think San Francisco really likes Brock Purdy. The jury is out on Lance because of the inexperience factor as well as him being injured. But Darnold, either way, looks as this as, okay, they have a Super Bowl roster. I get to team up with Kyle Shanahan at USC. Instability at head coach with Clay Helton. Same thing with the New York Jets and the Carolina Panthers. Now I go to a team that's made it to back-to-back NFC championship games, and I've never had a cast like this offensively. Sam Darnold, 1 year, $4.5 million deal, 3.5 guaranteed. Very good value for a top-tier backup in this league. As for Clelin Ferrell, a 4th overall pick back in 2019. I remember being in Nashville for the NFL draft that year, and there were so many Raiders fans on Broadway in Nashville, and they thought that the Raiders were going to make some monster splash. They went Clelin Ferrell, and there was a monster gasp from that Raiders fan base because they didn't know this player from Clemson. Up to this point, he's been a little bit of a bust to start his career, but there are a lot of similarities between Ferrell and Arden Key. Both first-round picks, both were busts with the Raiders. The sack production was not there. When Arden Key went to the Niners, he took off and flourished in the system under Chris Kocurek. I believe, and this is one of my bold predictions early on, that Clelin Ferrell is going to have 5 sacks this year. And if you get him 5.5 sacks, $2.5 million, that right there is a steal. As for Javon Hargrave, this is a player who's really come into his own over the last 5 years or so. He was with the Pittsburgh Steelers to start his career, signed a nice deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, now signs a 4-year, $84 million contract with $40 million guaranteed with San Francisco. Coming off a career-high 11 sacks a year ago, he ranked up there with Chris Jones as one of the better defensive tackles this past year. We knew going into the offseason, Niners needed to bolster their talent level and their depth at defensive tackle to really just make that defensive line better. They did it with Javon Hargrave, one of the best signings throughout this offseason. As for Isaiah Oliver, 2018 second-round pick, 5 years with the Atlanta Falcons. And when he played in the slot, actually played pretty solid football. In the mold in terms of his size of a Jimmy Ward, and he's played good ball. So you lose Jimmy Ward for $6.5 million per year. Isaiah Oliver, not sure what the contract details are as of right now, goes to the Bay. I imagine it's going to be for little money, 2-year deal. You save some cash by letting Jimmy Ward walk. You get a player who is capable of doing things similarly. And that's why I like the thought process behind this. Similar player, similar body type, saving some money, and you get a little bit younger at that position. It also allows Deommodore Lenoir to slide out to that outside cornerback role. Going back to when the Niners played the Falcons earlier this year, when they got crushed as Marcus Mariota had arguably the best game of his career, Jimmy Garoppolo got intercepted in this game by Isaiah Oliver on a pass intended for Deebo Samuel. Isaiah Oliver looked pretty good in the process. Sound off here. We want to hear from you down in the comment section. Grade the Niners free agency period up to this point. A, B, C, D, or F. I think right now they're firmly entrenched with about a B grade, but let me know what you're thinking with what John Lynch, Adam Peters, Parag in the front office have been able to do. To some of the players that the Niners have retained, Jake Brendel, re-signing with the Niners. He's going to be your starting center in 2023 and for a couple of years to come, ideally. 4-year, $20 million deal, $8 million guaranteed. He played well last year as a first-time starter at 30 years old. Kyle Shanahan loves continuity and consistency at that center position. That's why the Niners paid big money to Weston Richburg. They brought in Alex Mack. Now they have Jake Brendel. They believe that he can be the guy. Keep in mind, centers do age pretty well. Brendel did a great job a year ago in 2022. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, a depth linebacker and a guy who can also fill in from time to time as a starter if you really, really need him to. I think San Francisco really likes Marcelino McCrary-Ball to maybe fill in for Azeez Al-Shire. I don't think that Flannigan-Fowles is going to be that guy, but for him, really good special teamer, and this is a special teams unit that 2 years ago struggled mightily. Last year it got a little bit better. Flannigan-Fowles, a part of that special teams unit as one of the core pieces to it as a very, very solid player. All throughout free agency, I've been keeping y'all into the know with everything that's going down with this football team. Takes, reports, analysis, what I'm hearing, that and a whole lot more. Some of my takeaways on what San Francisco has been able to do. Please give me a follow, Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior, and slide in my DMs. I always love chopping it up with the faithful. Tashaun Gipson, he signed this deal, 1 year, $2.9 million on Sunday night. I know that because I was breaking it down from the crib on the eve of NFL free agency. Played at an all-pro level last year. Really cool story for him. I mean, this is a guy who is a Pro Bowl player, but was signed to the practice squad right before the season. And because Jimmy Ward, that's why they made that move. They bring in Tashaun Gipson, and because Jimmy Ward was injured, they started him at safety while Ward was out. He played so well next to Talanoa Hufanga that once Ward was healthy, they wanted Tashaun Gipson to stay on the field. That's why they moved Jimmy Ward to slot nickel corner. Kevin Givens, good defensive tackle depth piece, 1 year, $2.1 million contract to come back to San Francisco. Now you're looking at a defensive line, as of right now, Drake Jackson, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa. You need quality depth there. You have that now with Kevin Givens and TY McGill at defensive tackle. Still need, I think, another edge rusher here. I'd love Yannick Ngakoue. We'll see what happens. We're recording this on Friday if anything changes, but Kevin Givens, a certainly very good deal for San Francisco. Jauan Jennings also re-signing with the Niners. He was a basically restricted free agent, if you want to put it into NBA terms, but an exclusive rights free agent, which is the NFL version of that. With him re-signing, he's going to be back to the Bay for 2023, a very good number 3 or number 4 wide receiver who continues to play really good ball on some of those money downs. So, Jauan Jennings, one of those signings for the Niners to retain. Colton McKivitz got that deal. He might have an opportunity to compete for the starting right tackle job. I don't think that that's ideal. Now, San Francisco has done a good job of developing offensive lineman over the last couple of years and during this Kyle Shanahan regime. I just don't think that he's a starting caliber right tackle for an offensive line that certainly needs a little bit of a boost because against the Eagles and the Cowboys in the playoffs, I thought they were bad. And then Tabor Pepper, a very good long snapper with even better hair. He's back with the Niners as well. So if you're confident in this football team to succeed in 2023, this is what I want you to do right now. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and make sure you give me a follow, Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior on both platforms. We appreciate all of you for watching the show.